And welcome back to Summit Point Raceway, everybody. It's a 2024 PCA Potomac Rock the Summit. And with our coverage here today on YouTube, brought to you in part by the Washington, D.C. region of the SCCA, we want to thank them for their technical assistance here this weekend. Brian, we've got our Blue Group racers heading out on track now for their second race of the weekend. The IHF and J classes, also SPC 911 Cup. And let's go and run down the starting order. We had 19 drivers set qualifying times here this weekend. Let's run them down. Stephen Corrali in the number 55 Porsche Cayman starting 19th. Starting 18th, Michael Gershon in the 179 Boxster starting 17th. In the number 458 SPC Cayman, Michael Vietz. Starting 16th is Dwayne Moses in the number 64 911 SC, with Michael Kaunitz starting 15th. Michael's in the number 901 Porsche 996 911. Michael Enger starting 14th today in the number 50 Porsche 911, with Nate Dos Santos starting 13th. Nate's in the number 08 Porsche 911 Carrera. Then we got Jordan Simon. He's starting 12th. He's in the number 54 Boxster S in the F class, with David Nissenbaum also in a Boxster S starting 11th in the number 06 car. Lenny Stan is starting 10th in number 894 Porsche 911, with Lee Lasberg starting 9th. He is also in a Porsche 911. Then Mark Salvador starting 7th. He's in the 667 Porsche Boxster. Jason Nikic in his Porsche 911 starting in 6th. Sam Amano starting 5th. He's in the number 4 Porsche Cayman, with Eric Yortsoy starting in 4th. He's in the number 321 Porsche Cayman. Patrick James will start 3rd. He's in the number 41 SPC Porsche Cayman. He's your pole sitter in that class, with Ryan Magreb starting on the outside of the front row. He's in his Porsche 997 car. He's your H-class pole sitter. And Frank Rumpre, he's your I-class pole sitter in a Porsche 997, the number 77 car on the inside of the front row, leading the field now through turn number 10 as Mark Rougeau, our starter, looks over the field. And let's take a look. He sees him, and green flag is in the air, Brian, and we are racing once again here at Summit Point with the PCA Potomac.
Tell you what, Franklin Prey getting another great start as he heads down into turn 1 from that start-finish line. Once that green flag waved, he's opened up by about 2 car lengths now over. It looks like that's going to be Eric Yortsoy in that 321.
Yeah, in that SPC Porsche Cayman, comes around from the outside. Good start for him as he gets around Ryan McGrath and Patrick James as well as they come out of turn 2 and make their way into turn 3. Already a big gap there up front. We've got one car that's a little bit off the pace, Brian, coming through turn 3. I think that might have been the 59 machine of Terrence Judge in his 1990 Porsche 962 C2 as they start to make their way down through the chute and into turn 5.
Yeah. Remember, this is a group where we had a little bit with Michael Kunitz in that 901. Had an incident early on. I don't believe he took the green flag here, and I don't believe Stefan Carley also took the green flag here. We'll wait to see when them come back by, but I don't believe I saw those vehicles out there when they were coming up on their pace lap. But we'll see. I may have missed them as I was looking down here at the time of the scoring.
Well, this group in particular, Brian, had a lot of attrition. We had at the end of our race this morning, Donald Anger, who did not finish the race, Michael Kaunitz, as you mentioned, Dwayne Moses, Michael Vitz, Gershon, and Corrali, all non-finishers here this morning. Let's take a look as we have one lap complete. Franklin Prey crosses the line as your leader, with Eric Yortsoy second, Patrick James third. McGrath falls back in the 4th position with Sam Amano 5th. And indeed, Brian, you got it. Only 2 racers not taking the green. Michael Kaunitz in the number 901 Porsche 996, and Stephen Corrali in his Cayman S.
Yeah. Pretty much getting single file here early on. And this group also did the same thing earlier in their first race of the day. They all got single file, and then it wasn't until about halfway when they really started to battle, and that's when we started to see the attrition kind of filter through the entire field, where drivers were pulling off behind the paddock or having an incident here and there. So maybe they all got together and just kind of say, let's say single file here, and then we'll figure it out from there. But early on, Franklin Prey in that 997 has really started to pull away over Eric Yortsoy and Patrick James in that 41. Ryan McGrath sitting in 3rd or sitting in 4th overall, your H leader right now. Sam Mamano sitting in 5th. He is 2nd in in the I class to Franklin Prey in that 777.
All right, as we have the field now making their way through turn 10 and grabbing a little whiff of gravel there, Brian. Mark Salvador in the number 667 orange Porsche Boxster, as he is currently running 3rd in the H class. He's right behind Terrence Judge, and I think probably more than anything, he came through turn 10 somewhat unsighted because he had the nose of his Cayman there right up against, that's a Boxster right up against the back of the 964 of Judge, and we mentioned Judge had some issues at the start. Here is we've got a couple drivers that are having there's a little patch of dirt.
Yeah.
Drivers right coming out of turn 2, and a lot of our drivers are finding that as they're trying to straighten up the wheel awfully early to make a straight run down to turn 3. A little bit further ahead of turn 3, though, Brian, great run here in turn 5.
Yeah, I tell you what, you talked about that real quick. Coming out of turn 2, it's as I said this before, a lot of unorthodox lines going through here today, and guys just trying to get far over to driver's right to try to set up turn 3 coming out of there, and they're hitting that dirt patch.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you got a pretty good battle there coming out of turn 5. Seems like you got 4 or 5 cars right there. Again, still staying nose to tail, coming up through there, coming out of 8 and going through, and I believe that is probably going to be the Terrence Judge, Mark Salvador, who we saw make a great move earlier on in the first race today. And then you got Jason Kinnick and then Donald Anger in that number 50 machine. All
right, Brian, jumping to the inside, it is the 667 of Mark Salvador looking for a way by the white Porsche 911, the 964 of Terrence Judge. And as they come down into turn number 1, there it is, the orange with the black nose of Salvador. His Boxster now move him up into 6th overall, and more importantly, he moves into 2nd in the H stock class here, Brian.
Greg, we had one car that went off driver's left through down towards the skid pad. Looks like they're going to go down there and turn around. They're going to make a comeback through there out of turn 1.
Spencer, we can go over to turn 1 for a second. Actually, it looks like it's
right now.
Just now rejoining. There we go.
Yeah. Again, knew they weren't going to make that turn, and so decided to take through there. So it looks like Lenny Stan in that 894 machine in that 911.
Yeah, in the 911 Cup class, he was running 4th at the time of that off. Again, ran a little bit deep. Good heads-up racing for him to take that little access road, which bends to the left a little bit. A lot of drivers, they kind of get a little freaked out when the brakes don't work, and they end up going straight off into the gravel trap. He did a great job of recovering that car and able to continue with this race. We'll have to see is whether he can actually continue on, or maybe that car does have some issues that you wouldn't want to continue to push after for more laps. All right, a little bit now coming out of turn 10. And this, Brian, it's white on white on white. We've got Terrence Judge, Don Anger, who did make it out today in the number 50 car. He is your leader, I believe, in the 911 Cup class, running 9th overall. David Nissenbaum in his white Porsche Boxster, just behind, very closely behind Nissenbaum. I believe your F class leader, running 10th overall.
Yeah. Pretty good battle when they came out of turn 10, as you were talking about it. Coming down the front stretch again, Donald Anger trying to stay right there with him, drop back just a little bit. You can see as they come down the chute, you can see that's about 2.5, 3 car length gap right now. But I tell you what, he's going to make that up here momentarily. And again, we were talking about, you talking about the 894 Lenny Stan. He was kind of on the outside there, driver's left. They were too wide there for a minute. Realized he wasn't going to make the corner. Was able to slow the car down when he got to that access road there. As you go back into there, really had it slowed down. Made the turnaround and came back out. But knew he wasn't going to make the corner because he probably couldn't see the corner.
Right.
Because when you have another car right there next to you, it's tough to see that entry.
Yeah, and it is something as we watch them coming down the front straight here and heading towards start finish. Brian, this is it's a part of racing that you don't normally see in anything other than, in club racing, we see in the Spec Miata class at another organization all the time, where they spend entire races literally inches off of one another, nose to tail. But in most cases, in most GT car racing, that's not something you're going to see. As we see a great battle coming down coming down and through turn 1, Brian. And it is Lee Lasberg, it's Eugen Basha, and I believe Dwayne Moses as well. We're watching them as they're coming into turn 3 now. And I'll tell you, I absolutely love this car by Eugene Basha. It is the number 23, the pink number 23, Brian. And for those of you that are, up on Porsche history, it is using the livery, I think what used to be known as the truffle sniffer from Zuffenhausen, the car that was designed originally by Anatoly Lapid and used different cuts of pork.
Right.
It was on the Porsche 917-20 back all the way in 1971. But absolutely iconic livery, and great to see it there. And of course, Basha, he is running that same number. He's running the number 23 on the car. And oddly enough, he calls his car Piggy.
Yeah, there you go, right? So, Greg, one of the drivers I've been watching here for the last couple of laps here is that number 4, Sam Amano, and the 667 there of Mark Salvador. Now, Mark Salvador really gets deep into the brake zone of turn 1. Coming out of turn 2, he gets so deep in there and hard on the brakes that the car almost really slows down too much. So
Really?
He has zero momentum, and that's where Sam Amano is able to pull away.
Well, and that's one of the things that we saw, I think, when we were watching that great race with Kenagina and Calzacano, that yes, you would maybe want to try and outbrake somebody into a traditional hard braking corner, threshold braking corner like turn 1 here at Summit. But if you bring that and you compress that braking zone too much, yes, you might pick up some ground going into the corner, but you're inevitably going to lose speed because it takes you, you lose much more momentum, and it takes longer for you to be able to come back to full throttle past the apex. So you may gain at one end, you lose it on the other end of the corner.
Yeah. And that's kind of what we talk about, when we talk to these racers, and sometimes, you get in there and when you put the helmet on, right, you lose all that aspect of it. And it's like, you go in, it's like, I know I got to back the corner up to get off the corner, and ends up not doing it. We got a really good battle here headed down into turn 1. That's what I was talking about earlier. Mark Salvador, Jason Kinnick, Terrence Judge, Donald Anger, now throw in David Nissenbaum in that 06 machine. So again, they are actually, Nissenbaum's a couple seconds behind, but Donald Anger and Terrence Judge, they're starting to close the gap on Mamano, Salvador, and Nickett.
Yeah, indeed. And as they're doing that, Brian, of course, Terrence Judge in the H-Stock class, he definitely wants to get up to Salvador, as Salvador currently running second in the class. Judge is running in third. Donald Anger right behind. He is still your leader in the 911 Cup class. So we watch this, and what a great fight here, Brian, as they're all heading down into turn 5.
Well, I think Jason Nickett is the leader in the 911 Cup class. Then you've got Donald Anger. So
yes,
Jason,
you are. I'm sorry.
Jason in that
Absolutely.
blue number 27. But that's a battle right there that Donald Anger's not very far behind.
No.
Because he is in that, he's only a tenth behind Terrence Judge, which is really only less than 4/10 behind 27 of Jason Nickett in that, as they're coming out of turn 8 now. The last car there is the Donald Anger machine. So again, there's a car in between him and Jason for that overall lead in that 911. A lot of back and forth here as they come out of turn 10. Again, you can see Mamano trying to stay in front of Jason Kickett and Mark Salvador. Now, guys, we're going to go 3 wide down into turn 1, which we talked about this earlier on. Salvador is able to make that car stick going through there. We'll see if he's going to be able to hold on to it.
Yeah, we'll see, because as we said, you go deep there, you end up having to run wide in order to get the car rotated, but he makes it work, Brian, and is able to hold on to the position coming out of turn 1, as he was able to come across the nose of Nikic and put the 27 car behind him.
Yeah. Yeah, so what does that do? That moves that 27 back a little bit, and then you've got Terrence Judge, Donald Anger in that 50 machine. That's moving him a little bit closer.
Yeah, and the one thing that we've noticed about Salvador, and it's not just in this race, Brian, but we saw it this morning as well. He's not afraid to bring that car all the way down the driver's right to the point where he's almost dropping wheels into the pavement. We saw that this morning when he actually did do that on the start. But he's able to get that car rotated, and I think what you're seeing also is maybe a little bit of an intimidation factor, because we did see where Nikic maybe gave a little additional, gave basically some quarter and allowed Salvador. They made that work.
Right.
Let's put it that way.
Right.
He did not push the effort there too far as they come down across the start-finish line once again. But this battle here with 5 cars added every single corner, and we see once again Salvador coming down deep on the inside where he's going to pick up another position.
Yeah, Jason Nickic's going to be the odd man out here, Greg. I tell you what, we're going to have a new leader in this 911 Cup class here, because I do believe coming out of turn 2, and you'll be able to see it here, I believe Donald Anger is going to get ahead of that 27 machine. Actually did not get it. That is actually the 59 of Terrence Judge that got in front of him. So again, those two are still nose to tail in that 911, and that is for the battle for the lead right there.
So we've got 2 great fights in 2 classes, Brian, both in the H-Stock class and also in the 911 Cup class, and they are all just bottled up right there together, and they've been there for the last couple of races. And again, these are 30-minute sprint races here this afternoon, and we've got, as you can see there on our ticker on the left-hand side of the screen, a little bit more than half this race to go.
Yeah. You get with that battle there that, like I said, Donald Anger can get right up to the back of the 27 there, but he just can't make that pass. And when they get down into turn 5, that hard left-hander, it's where he tends to lose a little bit. So doesn't have the drive off coming off of 5 in through 6, what we call A and B,
right?
To get through there. So he loses that momentum, which again, you want to be on the gas from the minute you enter into turn 6A. All the way through, really, until you get to turn 10. I mean, that's really the next thing you're going to do.
So Brian, as we've been watching that same group, I'd like to track down Eric Yortsoy and Patrick James. Yortsoy in the white and blue Cayman, the 321 car. Patrick James in the green Cayman, the number 41 machine. They're running second and third overall, but that is the battle for the lead in SPC.
Looks like I think they're probably going to be getting ready to come up. I think this is them coming up out of turn 8.
Yeah, I believe
you're
right.
To see. Yes, that is them right there. There goes Eric Yortsoy, and there is Patrick James. So again, this afternoon we've got battles in several different classes around the racetrack. Here we go. We're going to catch them coming out of turn 10 down by the start-finish line here now. There it is. There's Eric Yortsoy. There's Patrick James. And the lead right now, Greg, is 0.4 of a second between them. Not only, I guess, that we were talking about, you've got that battle there as they head out of turn 1, headed up into turn 2. It opens up to about 3 car lengths, which is about that 0.4 lead. So Patrick James not able to really close the deal, but hanging right there with Eric Yortsoy to make him, whether or not he can make a mistake, where he can capitalize on that and pull back up behind him. Still got plenty enough time. There's roughly around 14 minutes left to go, so plenty of laps left to go in this race. Heading through turn 5, going to pick them up, coming through the carousel now. They're going to have a slower vehicle there that's going to be in front of them that they will run up on probably by the time they get to turn 10. They're a little bit quicker through the carousel. We'll pick up that car number when they come up past turn 10 and come down by us by the tower here. But looks like they probably going to meet them down at turn 1.
Yeah, and I was going to say, Brian, during our morning race, Patrick James had the measure of Yortsoy. And it's the measure. He crossed the stripe 1800ths of a second ahead of Yortsoy today. Should mention that Ryan McGrath, who took the H-Stock win, finished second overall. James third overall, Yortsoy third. And, we basically have flipped those 3 on their head, as Yortsoy currently running second overall with James second and Maghreb running 4th overall. Maghreb still your leader in H with about 11 seconds on Mark Salvador, who is running second in that class. We've seen Salvador in that other group.
Yeah, and Salvador's trying to hold off and defend, again, not for class, but he's trying to hold off the 4 of Sam Mamano, which Mamano's going to give up a position to Jason Nickick in that 27 machine. So move Mamano back all the way to 7th overall. And then you also got Terrence Judge and Donald Anger in that battle as well, although Anger seems to be falling off the pace right there. He's about another 0.3 behind Terrence Judge. So while those 4 were battling on, you've got Salvador, Nickick. They have started to pull away from that battle, and Mamano dropping back in between himself and Terrence Judge.
Right, and as you can see on the ticker on the left-hand side of your screen, we've got the green numbers there. That is for our iStock class. Franklin Prey, our overall leader, leading that class. Mamano, the only other driver in class, but he's got 5 other racers between he and the leader in class.
Plenty of room, but as we talked about earlier on, when this group was out earlier this morning, they only ran really 25 minutes, I believe, instead of the 30 minutes this morning.
Again, we had a lot of attrition. We also had some time under full course caution with that group as well.
Yeah. So again, these guys are going to go a little bit longer in this 30-minute race, but they will. Again, you got to take care of your equipment here. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, and Brian, we have I think still a local caution down at turn 5, or have they withdrawn that? It sounds like we just had a car. They've withdrawn the local caution, but we had a car go around there.
Looks like that was a 64 of Dwayne Moses. So Dwayne having a really rough day in that car from earlier on, and he's actually going to run in the next race as well. So.
That's right, because in the previous race, he pulled the car over early and then had to run about a half a mile to get to the grid for the next race. He's got more exercise in today than I have, that's for sure.
And that's what I'm being told. It's 8-9. I'm being told Lenny Stan again.
Oh, wow.
So again, Lenny Stan having a problem.
Because I was going to say, if indeed was Dwayne Moses, Brian, if he had one bad weekend, probably wouldn't be so bad. He tells us that he's lost count. That makes 2 of us. But he's raced over 200 race weekends with over 500 race starts between Porsche Club of America, between SCCA, NASA, AER, and World Racing League. And he said he's raced primarily Porsches, but a lot of German machinery, Audi, BMWs, and something not non-German like Aston Martin.
Right. I tell you what, we pick up this battle here again, going back down in turn 1, Greg. Mark Salvador's kind of separated himself from Sam Amano, Terrence Judge, and Donald Enger. Jason Nickick's fallen all the way back to 9th overall, so Donald Enger's leading that 9/11 Cup battle right now. It's still a 10th, still early on, long way to go. But it looks like that battle is continuing to kind of rear its ugly head for Jason in that 27, because he was leading that entire group earlier on.
That's
when they all first started to get together. As
we watch them come down through the chute and into turn 5. Oh, and I think that was Enger and Nikic side by side, the white and the blue 911s, Brian, and looked as though Enger had to take some evasive action as he was down there on the inside.
Yeah, I want to see it. That may actually have been Terrence Judge too, because they were both going in there. But I think you're right. That may have been the 50 machine. We'll have to see. We'll get the call here.
Oh yeah, it actually sounds as though it was Judge and Enger, not Enger and Nikic.
Yeah.
And in doing that, Brian, and that complication there has allowed Jason Nikic to go back into the lead now in 9/11 Cup as he's gone around Don Enger as they go down now into turn number 1. And looks like though that's the blue 27 car getting around the 50. Of Enger.
Yeah, I think that contact was between Terrence Judge, because he's dropped back, all the way back. He's now back into 14th. I think that was the thing there between Terrence Judge and the 50 of Donald Enger. So you're right.
All right, Brian, real quick, let me make a first call to the grid for our next group. Attention in the paddock. First call to the grid for our red group drivers. Please head to the grid now. This is your first call. Red group drivers, please head to the grid. Your race is next. And just a reminder to everyone that if you want to take part in the silent auction tonight here at Summit Point for the Aaron Levitas Foundation, You need to get your bids in by 7 p.m. And we've got great musical guests here this evening, Brian. At some point, we've got the Carolyn Everly Band, and they are an award-winning bluegrass artist. That'll be over at the event tent. And, of course, we've got the Craftsman Auto Care Happy Hour here, both starting at 5 p.m. And at the happy hour podium, we will have our award ceremony scheduled to start at 5:30. I think that might be pushed just a little bit based on the fact that we're running a little bit late in the afternoon here.
Well, anytime we throw the checkered flag at the end of an event, it's always happy hour, right? So.
You got it. And of course, I'm looking forward to the barbecue dinner tonight provided by Decision Tech and Radial Tire Company. That is over at the event tent. Drivers and volunteers are, of course, welcome. It is free for them and for others, as long as if you go over to our race HQ tent in the center of the paddock, you can purchase a dinner ticket there. So again, it's for drivers and volunteers. Everybody else, buy your way in to what has been pitched as an amazing barbecue dinner from Decision Tech and Radial Tire Company.
Tell you what, Greg, I'd love to see a lot of drivers come over there. I know you and I will be there, so we're going to go over there, and Spencer may hang out, although Spencer's trying to get through the day here. But we're going to go out. Come over and talk to us. Tell us about your car. Tell us about your driving. I know we've got a lot of bios, but we don't really know a whole lot of people by face, right? So we want to be able to put those together. So let's talk some motorsports. Greg, I'm going to pick up this battle, Spencer. Let's go down into turn one here, and this is for the 911 Cup. I believe this is Jason Nickick and Donald Anger. I tell you what, they were side by side coming out of turn 10. I'm noticing Donald Anger trying to straighten up turn one as much as possible, making that left-hand turn,
diamonding it off,
trying to diamond the corner. That does hurt the car a little bit, but it seems like he's getting a little bit better drive off than he was earlier on.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see if he's able to make that stick here, really for the last 5 minutes of this race. But I've noticed him really making that left, as we see other cars do in other classes, and then really trying to shoot off.
Yeah, and we see he actually made up a little bit of ground as they come down into turn 5 now. Oh, well, we kind of missed them going through turn 5. A little cloud of dust. There they are. The third and fourth cars coming through, and I think what we're seeing there, Brian, from the white Anger car, the number 50 car, is he's trying to square off some of those corners. He's maybe having some challenges, one with sweepers, but also getting that car rotated.
Yeah,
so he's making some adjustments. Yeah.
Entry could be either a little. I think the way it looks like, the way he's entering in, that car may be really getting loose on entry, and so he's really trying to back it up and straighten it up as best he can.
Exactly. As they come out of turn 10, and he's got some very good straight line speed. We see now where the blue 911 of Nickick moves a bit to the inside to try and defend. They're going to be the second group through. And here as they come into turn 1 again, Nickick doing a very good job at defending, and looked like Anger got a nice run out of there this time.
Yeah.
Not enough to get around, however. He's still going to slot right back in behind the blue number 27.
Yeah. Tell you what, good battle up above that as well with, I believe that's going to be Ryan McGrath, and actually that's going to be Sam Mamano and David Nussbaum. Looks like Mamano's going to drop in behind that battle. So where Mamano was up there in front of this battle, he's dropped all the way back to 8th. So looking at timing, he dropped 6 seconds on time, so not a good lap.
Attention in the paddock. Second call to the grid for our Red Group racers. Please head to the grid. Your sprint race is next. Red Group racers, this is your second call to the grid.
Again, as we get 3 minutes remaining here in this race, in their last, sprint race of the day for the blue group. They're going to try to make the most of it. It looks like we're going down into turn 1 here. It looks like we're going to try to go too wide again. There's Salvador ahead of this group, so it looks like the car that has fallen off there, that looked like maybe one of the lapped cars there.
Yeah, I believe that. I think that might have been the 08 of Dos Santos that they just cleared.
That is correct.
All right, yep.
Yep.
So they just did that. And big difference that time, Brian, as they went down into turn one, is that we saw Anger on the inside that time with Nikic in the blue car on the outside, almost swapping slots from where they had been the previous 3 laps or so.
Yeah.
And, that might not be a horrible idea given how we've seen the Anger car handle lately. If Nikic were to drive and force the white car down to the inside. But not going to be much more time to figure those things out, Brian, because we're getting word now that the next time, and we haven't shown him here because he's opened up almost a 12-second lead on the rest of the field, but the next time Franklin Prey in the number 777 Porsche 997 comes down the front straight, he's going to get the one to go signal.
I think he's just now coming up out of turn 8, coming up underneath turn 9. So he's going to get that one to go board along with everybody else behind him. So.
And there he is with that black with the Martini, classic Martini racing stripes on the center of the car here as he comes down the front straight.
Gives a wave to our flagger, notifying him that, yep, I know I got one to go.
That's right. You're number 1, Franklin.
We talked earlier on about that Eric Yortsoy and Patrick James battle. That's kind of opened up quite a bit, right? That's opened up by about 15, 16 car lengths. So that battle's kind of gone away a little bit. I think the closest battle we have for position in class is that 911 Cup race.
Indeed.
That's kind of going on. We're going to pick them back up because I'll tell you what, that has been a battle pretty much all race long. At one point we had 4 cars involved, and actually we had 5. We had Salvador, again, he's not in that class, but he's in the age group, but you had Salvador, you had Nikic, you had Anger at that point. You also had Judge in there, Terrence Judge, who really has only completed 14 laps, so he's pulled off and ended his afternoon and his weekend.
All right, coming out of turn 10 now. That is our overall leader, Franklin Prey.
Coming out of turn 10 right now, I believe.
There he is. Coming onto the front straight, right into our view. And for the second time today, Franklin Prey will take the win in iStock in his 997 Porsche 2010 edition. And he takes the win in the iStock class. Congratulations to him. Ryan Magreb is in the lead in H, but this time, as opposed to finishing second, he's going to be behind that battle, which we mentioned had opened up a little bit between Yortsoy and James. But Brian, I think that has actually closed down a little bit. But they cross the line, and Yortsoy takes the win. Margin of victory, 55/100ths of a second.
Yeah, that closed down a lot. Because it was longer. It was bigger than that.
It was about a second and a half on the last lap before the last lap started. So James wins the first race for SPC. Yortsoy second. Let's jump now back over to this battle for the lead in 911 Cup between Jason Nikic and Enger as they're coming out of turn 8 and underneath the bridge. They are the second and third cars in line. And for the moment, it looks as though Jason Nikic in the blue 27, he's got the measure. And as they come to the stripe, it is Jason Nikic taking the win for the second race today in 911 Cup. And this afternoon, finishing second will be Don Enger. And a great finish for him because Enger did not finish this morning's race. And so great job there. Podium for Enger. I think finishing third in 911 Cup, Nate Dos Santos in the number 08 machine. All right, let's go, and we'll run down our finishing order here. Before I do, Brian, let me make a final call to the grid, though. Red Group Racers, this is your final call to the grid. Red Group Racers, please head to the grid. This is your final call. All right, let's take a look here. And taking the win in iStock, Franklin Prey, the number 777. Sam Amano finishing in second. In H-Stock, Ryan Magreb taking the win by 13 seconds over Mark Salvador. Terrence Judge, as you mentioned, Brian, only completing 14 laps, finishing 8 laps down. In F stock, it's David Nissenbaum taking the win. 7 seconds the margin over Jordan Simon. Michael Gershon only completes 2 laps. In SPC, it's Eric Yortsoy taking the win. Half a second, 55 100ths over Patrick James. Michael Vietz only completes 8 laps. And then finally, in 911 Cup, Jason Nikic takes the win over Don Enger. Margin of victory, 22 100ths of a second. Eugene Basha and Miss Piggy takes third in the number 23 car. Lee Lasberg will finish 4th, and Lenny Stan will finish in 5th. All right, we're going to take a quick break and just one more race to go here today. We've got lots of more racing action tomorrow. 2 endurance races, 2 90-minute endurance races tomorrow. And we want you to join us, of course, as we're going to be starting at 8:25 a.m. tomorrow. But first, we'll be back in just a few moments with our last sprint race of the day. Brian here at the 2024 Rock the Summit from Summit Point Raceway.